All right, welcome back, Outcasts. So I want to name this episode 1 of the Confessions of an Outcast podcast as well, because we're going to be reading through the book, and tonight's chapter 1. So I'll go back and fix the thumbnails and all that to where it makes sense, to make it make sense. Before we get into it, let's get this fire going. See if I can get a fire started here for our little nighttime reading. Oh, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not in the background though. I think we had some rain come through, but it missed us today, so we didn't get to fill up the watering tanks for the garden, which is unfortunate. However, you may see that right there. That's collecting my AC water from the roof. Pretty pure water. So, all right, in the last episode, we read the foreword by Scott Tucker, and I actually heard from Scott after I was sending that video, and he likes what I'm doing, so that was good to hear. He wants to catch up soon. And then I read the preface that I had written as well, made some comments on it. But the next part of the book would be the clavis, which is the key with terminology that's not typically used, right? So all the acronyms and military jargon I defined in the clavis. And then I wrote a kind of an intro called a sitrep, Reveille, a raging war front. So I got to read it first, and then hopefully we'll have enough time to get into chapter 1, which is lie number 1, irreplaceable commodity. So right now, we're going to turn over to page 1 and read the sitrep. And again, this is out of a book I wrote during the depths of my military transition, Avoiding Each and Every Military Veteran's Disadvantage. The subtitle, How to Overcome the Lies the Military Family Believes to Get Our Freedom Back. I'm not going to go through the clavis here, but I'm going to read the quotes at the beginning of the clavis and then the end of the clavis. Henry David Thoreau, the language of friendship is not words, but meanings. And then from General George Patton, no dumb bastard ever won a war by going out and dying for his country. It was won by making some other dumb bastard die for his country. And then I opened the sitrep, Reveille, a raging war front, with a quote by Abraham Lincoln. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Yep, that still resonates. I like it. Let's open this chapter with a tale of two military officers living out their same but different lives in parallel universes. Both are based on real people that I know, and their stories are true. I'll open with these stories to illustrate that if you have not planned for what comes after military, whenever it comes, whether the timing of your separation is expected or unexpected, then you're at the mercy of an institution that does not have your individual best interests at heart. Of course it doesn't. How could it? The institution exists to break things and kill people, and to use service members as expendable commodities to do so, and it's an extraordinarily complex one at that. The very reason to create a system for anything to a certain extent is to transcend the individual. A system endures both because of and despite the individuals in it. And as much as the military needs each of us to play our parts in keeping the system going so that the missions get accomplished, we are important. I gotta move. That wind's blowing right at me. And the smoke follows as usual. Y'all ever had that happen around a campfire? I think it's the electromagnetic spectrum. I think our magnetic pull of us brings the smoke to us. That's just my wild outcast idea. I don't know if physics will ever prove it or not, but that's what I think. Man, I got a really gray spot coming in there, don't I? Look at that. Like a silver nugget. All right, let's see here. Continuing on. But as I will discuss in chapter 1, within that system, we are not people to the system, we are parts. Once we are no longer useful to the mission, it's not the military's problem to help each one of us transition into a new and satisfying way of life. That's on us. And to ourselves, through our own eyes, we are not parts. We are people. You may be asking, but what about DoD Transition Assistance Program, Soldier for Life, Transition Readiness Seminar, TAPS, SFL, TRS? What about the benefits? What about all these things that the military has put into place to help and support us? All of this and more is covered in the chapters ahead. Let's familiarize ourselves with these officers and see if we can glean some insight into how things look, not from the broad perspective of the institution administering these programs, but from behind the eyes of a few of the people serving within it. Tom, a senior officer. It's been years since we've seen one another, and the challenges with operational and staff demands while tending to family in the evening saw our relationship drift to the wayside. We had only been stationed together once, but hit it off surprisingly well, just never have stayed in touch. So here's the discussion. Heath, Tom, how are you doing, man? It's been years. Not sure why we don't stay in touch more often. So how's the family? Tom, Nicole and the kids are doing great. We're battling the homeschool environment for the first time ever, and I'm partially teleworking, trying to keep Nicole from losing her mind. But we're hanging in there. How about that first football game? That sure was something, wasn't it? Heath, yeah, it was. Couldn't believe the ending. I was looking forward to seeing you today because I have something on my mind, and I was wondering if you would consider discussing it. Tom, of course, man. What is it? Heath, are you thinking at length and seriously about transition and post-retirement yet? Tom, I haven't really thought about it. I'm so busy putting out fires in my current assignment and nobody talks about this stuff. We perceive those who do as quitters and no longer engaged, as they're no longer supporting the mission. So no, I'm not thinking about it. Heath, why do you think that is? Tom, well, I've never really thought about it. We're so busy, stretched thin with people, resources, and the like, that I spend almost all my time and attention on the job with what's left over. I try to keep the family satisfied. Heath, don't you think that's odd given how we're trained to operate and plan for missions and we're not short on resources, Tom? Have you seen our budget compared to the other departments? Tom, when you put it that way, he sits back and scratches his head. Heath, when you do think about transition, and we all do from time to time, what do you think about? Tom, I guess what I really think about is, where do I fit in? I have so many options, too many really. I can be self-employed and do well. I can go to corporate America and do well. I can stay in the government and do great. Or I don't have to work at all and I can crush that life too. I mean, I have a lot to offer. I'm a military guy. Mission accomplishment is my first and foremost priority. I'm a supply chain guy. I'm entrepreneurial. Just look at my fit reps. I don't have to be told what to do. I just lean in. Heath, yeah, I get all that, man. But what do you want to do? Listen to this. I just had a conversation with a friend who's a few years ahead of us, and here's what he told me. I relate to the following conversation. BA, sitting in the TGPS, TAP, TRS, SFL class, I wasn't worried. I was like, I have a master's in operations research. I have a ton of experience in OR programming, data analysis, and a ton of experience in supply chain and logistics. They said veterans have difficult times getting jobs in corporate world at the same pay, responsibility level as they had in the military, and I didn't believe it. Well, I can tell you that is a fact, at least for me. This perspective is an open, exposed flank during the middle of this officer's and military family's transition, and he had no idea at the time. VA, I probably emailed, mailed 100 plus folks all over the industry trying to get my business off the ground. I've done the same just applying for jobs as an employee. For the most part, it's been crickets. I've had one interview in 6 months. I'm applying for inventory manager, data analysis, process improvement jobs for corporate monster companies like Home Depot, jobs I'm clearly overqualified for, and all I get are emails saying, thank you for applying, but we have decided to move on with other applicants. So now I'm entering the idea of taking on a $50,000 to $60,000 position as a warehouse operations manager that I'm extremely overqualified for just to get my foot in the door in the corporate world. I don't think COVID has anything to do with it either, as there are plenty of job openings on these companies' websites. It's difficult to read those paragraphs, I said to myself, so much pain and frustration that even a tiny amount of planning from decades ago could have prevented or at least mitigated significantly. BA, starting a business during a pandemic when you have zero corporate experience and no corporate reputation is a bad idea, as you may imagine. It's become clear to me that unless you want to do a government service job, You need to do whatever you can to build connections with folks in the industry you want to work in within the real world. They need to know you, like you, and trust you well ahead of your reaching out to them seeking opportunity. His thoughts are partially true here. The misunderstanding pertains to the industry, the market buyer who his value is offered to, and his experience or expertise in that service or product. Starting a business, regardless of economic environment, depends upon what someone has to offer who others may want or need, even if they don't know they need it. It also hinges on the planning, preparing, and working up to launching a business slightly before or after the separation from service. My personal experience showed me that it takes 2 years to become profitable, and the winding road and bridges crossed to get there was a 4-year journey. BA, my advice to you is to take the next year to really try to figure out what you want to do next in life, and then take the next 2 years to build a network around that. If you can, try to lock down a job before you retire. You can even start applying for jobs 2 years out and go through the interview processes. If you're fortunate enough to get offered a job, you can turn it down for other opportunities, since you'll still have to complete your obligated service time. Doing this will get you experience with resume writing, applying for jobs, and even interviewing if you're fortunate enough to even land an interview. Every single person's timeline is different, but a year is not enough time to figure out what you want to do. Not nearly enough. Building a network over 2 years in this aging economy is also less than ideal effort. Network building must happen early and often throughout the career, and the ability to do so depends on your health, self, and wealth positioning to allow you to build and, most importantly, maintain and keep relationships in that network throughout life. I call it WISE, wealth independent, self-efficient. I'd forgotten about that. WISE acronym, wealth independent, self-efficient. Not only that, figuring out what you want to do is the wrong question. The right question to ask first is, who do you want to be? So that gets back to that purpose, right? The center of the pillars. It's our purpose is what drives us through the days of unexpected events and dictates how we react and or respond to the challenges that the world will definitely present us with. BA, I'm not telling you this to scare you. I just want to let you know what you're up against out there. Do not overestimate the intelligence of leaders within the corporate world. From what I've seen, they're no smarter than the leaders we see in the Navy. They're just higher paid. But we should be scared if we have 15 or more years in service and any of the above sounds familiar. If it does, you like me were behind the 8 ball. BA, I've read a few transition books over the last couple of months. I told my friend, and they say the same thing you're saying. Basically, no one cares about what you did in the military. We have no corporate experience, so we have nothing to offer. I fully expect to start over completely and apply for entry-level positions in 3 years, hopefully making 50 to 70,000. I'm even eyeing up some internships to apply for, but I expect to get turned down for those because I won't have student status. Think of it from the professional's perspective. They've been in this game their entire lives while paying your salary in organizations that's notorious for waste and inefficiency. Set aside the fact that we raised our right hand to die for the country. It's irrelevant in this discussion about sustaining a family's necessities. This is business, so any sense of entitlement you still believe you have must be set aside. It's only going to hold you back. That is what the rest of this book discusses, the disadvantage I perceive you to have on active duty and the way that too many are burdened by the military veteran community. BA, all of these 06s that say they'll make 200,000 plus after they retire are full of crap, unless they're juiced in with some defense contractor in Northern Virginia. Most of them end up as a GS government servant. Also, they are in their 50s when applying for corporate jobs, which from what I'm reading is even less appealing to corporate America than someone in their 40s. Hard to expound on that. Ageism is very real today. It's the red pill we must all take at the 12 to 15 year mark, if not having already figured it out as a junior officer. Heath, I told him to keep me posted, I told Tom, concluding my story because I'll be facing it soon as well. Tom, oh man, you've got to be kidding me. But I want to find an equivalent salary and negotiate for a job and compensation that doesn't undercut myself for what I deserve. Heath, who doesn't? But do you honestly believe any recruiter or hiring manager is going to bend over backwards to hire you based on that list of things you bring to them and give you what you think you deserve? Tom, sure, why wouldn't they? Heath, did you listen to the story I just told you? I think the real question we both need to ask ourselves is why should they? They've got plenty of people out in the market to choose from who've been working in the industry for years, even decades. They've also got plenty of veterans who've already fought through their transition and are on the other side of it and who have the corporate experience that you and I don't. Not only that, look at the economy and what's happened to wages over the last 3 to 4 decades, combined with the explosion of people with degrees. We're just 2 more overqualified, institutionalized officers who are in the basket of others competing for the same few jobs. How low a salary are you willing to take with them knowing you're collecting your pension and perhaps VA disability pay and all the benefits that come with both. Tom's smartphone beeps. Tom, damn leash, work never stops calling. It's 24/7, 365. I don't know why people can't get stuff done on their own without calling me and asking me questions all the time. I'll get back to them later. Heath, no problem, Tom. Same with me. Nobody, the bureaucracy that is, values time. That's gotten old. Ever notice how the insurance salesman, the real estate agent, or anybody else that sold us a bill of goods or services over the years are always in a rush? They value their time, that's why. Anyway, as I was saying, why would corporate America want to take a risk on a new veteran, especially given the headlines in the news concerning PTSD, TBI, sexual violence, and suicide crisis? On top of that, there's everything they hear and read about the waste and inefficiency going on in the government and the DoD. What makes you think they're going to believe that you know how to generate cash flow and make profits with the currency? And how about economic environment ahead? Are you cognizant on what's going on in the economy today? Tom, Heath, this is a really different perspective on things. What happened to you? Heath, I educated myself. I realize we have the transition thing all backwards. I'm 100% certain of it. Hear me out. Let me put forward an example from the military family finance landscape. Are you aware of the survivor benefit plan, the SGLI variable, and the VGLI trap? Tom says no. Heath, do you understand how systems such as the Federal Reserve and the Treasury really work? No. Do you know the difference between currency and money? Tom, what are you talking about? Those are the same thing, right? Heath, what do assumptions do our mission plans? Tom, do you know what's really going on in the securities and bond market during the pandemic? Tom, my TSP has soared. I've made tons of money. Heath, well, Tom, we'll get there, but all those gains are unrealized, and until you cash out, you've made nothing. Do you have any idea why interest rates are nearing zero? Tom, no clue, but I know I've got way more money in the bank than I'd like to have, given inflation's at 2% and they're paying me less than 0.5% to use my money. Heath, did you ever think that maybe they don't want your cash in the bank, so they're discouraging you from keeping it there? Tom, oh wow, I haven't thought about that, interest rates like that. Heath, well, interest rates are the cost of the currency and debt. How familiar are you with how the federal income tax works? Tom, not very. I know income taxes and Social Security take a lot of my pay though. Heath, do you realize that tax rates change and that right now they're at all-time lows? Aside from when there was no income tax on the middle class in the early to mid-1900s, today taxes are starting to increase right about the time our pension payouts begin, and highly likely to go up from there. We'll pay even more in taxes on top of the additional taxable income for a new job, assuming we can land one in this environment. That third of your salary is in tax-free BAH, it'll be gone too. Tom, I haven't thought much about the tax liability after retirement. It changes quite a bit, as a question. Heath, yes, Tom, it really does, and very few of us are intentionally planning for that. You mentioned starting a business. Have you considered the intricacies of setting up a business and the benefits of the corporation or limited liability company, legal entities that position your cash and expenses to minimize how much you have to pay in taxes? Tom, kind of. Doesn't TAPS give us all that information? Heath, the Transition Assistance Program, Transition GPS, is only what it says it is, assistance. And no, DoD TAP, and it's not TAPS, by the way, doesn't give us varsity level information on the job market, family finances, or anything else really. Perhaps it does give okay insight about VA processing and VA healthcare, but that is about it. Think about it. Do you really believe a one-size-fits-all approach to transition is going to take the best care of you as an individual with your individual family and personal needs? Look at every other government program you've been a part of. Remember, this is a DoD Big P program with a capital P. How well are those run? On top of that, your local commander is responsible for processing you out of the military, not big DoD or the VA. How many things are going there at your assignment again? Tom, everything is a dumpster fire day after day. And it always is. So how easy do you think the transition process is going to be? Tom, it seems like it might be more challenging than we're generally led to believe. Why hasn't this been brought up sooner? Heath, I believe it's because the military mission is to kill people and break things and to remain ready to threaten use of such force to impose the nation's political will. The military's mission isn't to send healthy, capable, and happy veterans back into society as contributing members. I recall a conversation with the USMC colonel in the waiting area of the neurosurgery clinic in the fall of 2020. Asking him about transition, he responds, I haven't thought about it much. Commander Smith, me in uniform, don't you think taking care of our people concerns the matter? The colonel responds, that's not our mission. And his answer was partially right. This transition matter isn't in the organization's DNA or its mission. If we're in the military, we're expendable commodities in service to the nation. Because of that, we'd be wise to begin looking out for ourselves intentionally much sooner than we do, because our leaders, they're focused on the mission to the expense of our individual mission, and likely their own too. Turning toward the mission while we're still in uniform service, in fact, and early, is crucial. It's going to take a culture change, and a big one. Heath, tell me this, Tom. How much have you utilized military medical over the years? I only went when I had to, and no other time. I went just enough to ensure I could meet physical readiness test requirements. How about you? Tom, same, Heath. I don't know much about all of it, except for the fact that I needed to stay away from it as much as possible to remain eligible to keep on serving. Plus, I could never find time during the workday to go for anything other than annual physical to remain eligible for the physical fitness assessment. Heath, looking back, I think that taking such an approach to the military health system is misplaced guidance. I reached out to the Defense Health Agency team on Facebook as I began researching these matters, asking for a playbook of sorts on how the medical system works regarding maintaining eligibility for active duty and how to best use medical to take care of myself to achieve peak whole health. They didn't have a playbook and couldn't equip me with one. A representative pointed me to pamphlets in the doctor's office and advised I go online. I found that curious. You know, we could easily come together and use the information technology that's all around us to build our mission team as we approach our inevitable transition back into society. Doing so as early on in uniform service as possible, like immediately following graduation from the training pipelines, if not during, would be ideal. So what do you think? Tom, I think I've got a bunch of lookups, and honestly, you scared me. When can we talk again? Now pass me a drink, please, and I must answer this text from work. Damn phone, it's as bad as the comms bricks on the ships and radios in the fields. And this is from JD, a junior officer. Discussion I had with him. JD says, how could this have happened? Whispering to himself. Sitting motionless at his desk, head down, hunched forward over his keyboard, a sense of shame overcomes him. He can't seem to find the strength to stand, although he is in peak physical and mental health, or so he thought. A few hours ago, JD received the statutory promotion board results and found out he's been passed over during his second look. He knows it will end his military service career on active duty at 12 years in. He feels ashamed, betrayed. All he has heard in service to the nation is how to promote to the next rank, how to get the premier assignments for the network, how to climb the ladder, hopefully to the rank of captain, and a shot at wearing stars as a flag officer and finding the glory of commanding fleets in war. He is on top of his game. He's always been on top of everything he has tried throughout his life. In his mind, nothing can or could stop him, and no organization he is with can run without him. After graduating at the top of his class in school, he decided the U.S. military was his future. He is the first of his family serving in the U.S. Armed Forces, and he joined because the country needed him to fight for the freedoms that he holds so dear. From a small town, JD was popular. He dated his high school sweetheart, and she married him after graduating college. Playing offense and defense to this day, he remains a hometown icon. They know he is serving the nation and doing great things. But all that has come to a crashing halt, unexpectedly and all at once. In 9 months, he'll be back in society, and now he must figure out how to leave the military environment and reintegrate into a capitalistic society. Either that or join the ranks of government service civilians and retired military personnel who are content to live in mediocrity for the rest of their days. He vowed he would never do that. He's seen how ridiculous the government systems make the work environment and how impossible it is to get much done efficiently. With a mortgage and vehicle debt, college ahead for his 2 kids, and a lifestyle his sweetheart has become accustomed to, he does not know what to do. This has hit him like a sea mine to the keel of a ship. He thinks it is a catastrophic blow, and he has no confidant to ask about leaving service, as his entire military career has been mission-focused, readiness to kill enemies and break things. All his thoughts and energy toward being fully mission-capable for war. After a decade of loyal devotion, all he can show for his military career is a young family that is dependent on him, and a shadow box from his military exploits. He does not know it yet, but none of these things matter to the citizens he is protecting. All he will hear is, "Thank you for your service," over and over, time after time. Meanwhile, he has a family to support, and they depend on him completely. His sweetheart, Caroline, desired motherhood her entire life. Even after getting her university degree, she believed homemaking to be her calling as the military swooped her and JD off to adventure. And those degrees they both earned have less and less value as the years pass by. Moving from base to base every 18 to 24 months with deployments and absence and challenge, they have known only upheaval, and it has been hard. She is great at home, but those skills are not rewarded with handsome salaries in this society, and her experience offers little in the way of employment opportunities. Her side gigs over the years were more for hobby than income, but ends just never seem to meet, and employment outside the home is on her mind. With each guaranteed paycheck, pay raise, and cost of living allowance, COLA, adjustment, JD and Caroline have increased their lifestyle. They did manage to sock away some savings in traditional retirement plans, but those assets are not accessible without penalty for 2 or 3 decades. And there is no underlying rhyme or reason to stock market valuations. The economy is wrecked. He's still consumed with these thoughts when Caroline and the kids arrive outside the office building to pick JD up. The text comes through to him that they are waiting and excited about dinner at their local favorite. Pizza is great. He gathers his things, stands up from his desk, and prepares himself. Then he slams his fist on the desk, thinking, "What in the hell?" He knows Caroline will see something is wrong. She will notice his mood quickly. As he approaches the car in his working uniform and aviator glasses, the typical service member look we're familiar with from the movies, he returns a salute to a passing sailor and then sees the excitement on Caroline's face subside. He opens the car door as she gets out so he can drive. "Hey, sweetie, how was your day?" she says, kissing his cheek. "Fine," JD replies. "Hey, Daddy," and "Hi, Dad," come from the back of the car as the just awakened baby Johnny begins crying. "Hey, kids," he says. "JD, what's wrong?" He lowers his head, his mind racing, trying to figure out what to say and how he will manage being out in public at dinner for the next 2 hours. A raging war front. War is raging around us, yet the majority of those in our community seems to be shell-shocked and do not realize it. No, I'm not talking about the 2 decades-long war in the sandbox that so many of us experienced, nor am I speaking to the saber-rattling going on by both sides in the Far East. I'm talking about a war right here at home, composed of hundreds of thousands of battles that are happening every single day. Few are being won. Instead, our country's best and brightest are succumbing to suicide, depression, unemployment, underemployment, and only plain old frustration and despair. The losses are mounting. Just search transitioning military officer today on LinkedIn. There are about 180,000 results as of the time this book was written. That may be hundreds of thousands of service members who are likely facing the greatest change of their lives right now, and they have no idea what to do next. Why? The carnage is rampant because few service members are fully mission capable when their transition ambush happens and their transition battle begins. This is partially due to the lies we are being told. Our belief in these lies is a huge disadvantage. The first lie, the one that is continually setting the scenario above into motion, is that there is no reason to think about transition until you are confronted with it. This book reinforces why it is paramount for every armed forces family at every rank to begin intentional planning now for the inevitable transition battle and subsequent separation, including retirement. It ensures readiness for the autonomous freedom awaiting your grasp beyond uniformed service, if fully ready to take it from the earliest days in service. Autonomy is the human psychological condition of freedom. A student of autonomy is never cultivating intellectual skills that enable freedom free from groupthink, regardless of the culture and conditions of the world around them. Their secret is self-directed learning, and for students of autonomy, their self-directed learning never ends. This preparation does not stop with you, though. The importance of warning your peers, seniors, and enlisted and officer subordinates is paramount in every assignment between now and your end of service obligation, and perhaps beyond too, because it's the only way we can win this war. More importantly, your family, as applicable, must be prepared too. No one will save you. You must save yourself. In this book, I discuss all the disadvantages with which we as service members are unwittingly saddling ourselves by believing and living according to a lot of lies. Being aware of these disadvantages becomes your total advantage in preparing for your freedom beyond uniformed service. These lies are so entrenched in our military culture that we don't recognize them for what they are. We are told some of these lies explicitly. Others are communicated to us not so much in words, but through our shared culture. Some are merely bad assumptions that we make through a failure to think critically or to ask questions. We mistakenly and even sometimes happily allow these lies to shape our lives with the full support of our peers and organizations. But just because everyone believes a lie does not mean it is not a lie. The words we use, they matter. This is a prime spot to stray for 1 minute to talk about words and why the words we use matter. I will get back to advantage in a moment, so bear with me. The words matter concept is one that has stuck with me for over a decade now. I first became aware of it in junior war college, where I earned an MBA. It is funny how approaches to problems come full circle. My research focus in Monterey, California at Naval Postgraduate School analyzed qualifications and the credentialing of U.S. Navy Supply Corps officers, comparing the tactical It's Your Career guidance to the same organization's strategic human capital document for the year 2040, identifying a large discrepancy between the two documents. I took a similar approach to the topic of DoD mobilization during the COVID-19 pandemic at National Defense University. Challenging the status quo and living on the bleeding edge of change is an exciting place to be, albeit sometimes dangerous. I suppose that's why the Defense Entrepreneurs Forum appeals to me. Check it out sometime. At the time, winners were congregating there. I don't know about now. I guess I need to go check back in with them, see if it even still exists. So returning to my recent senior war college experience, a Master's of Science in National Resource Strategy taught the questions asked are center stage. That made it all the clearer to me about words we choose in conversation, briefings, and in fact communications overall are so extremely important. But let us take it one step further by saying the questions we ask with the words we carefully choose is what really makes a difference in our lives and in the lives of those we meet. Because if we don't know the meaning of the words we're using, then would you agree that we don't have any idea what we're talking about? Fair enough? Words such as transition, separation, and even retirement, when one isn't truly retiring from their working years, can create a mindset of scarcity and loss. By changing our words and thus our views on this time period in which every military career inevitably culminates, we are better able to dream big and chart a path toward achieving those dreams. Having a plan and being able to see a path empowers us to intentionally grab hold of our lives and sprint into the future, as opposed to hesitantly proceeding into a new and perhaps even scary world as we leave behind all we knew in uniformed service. Instead of working hard to save a nickel, let's work just as hard to make a dollar, and then make that dollar work harder for us. Said simple, work smarter, not harder. This starts by understanding the words we're using and choosing our words wisely. This approach will play out from here to the very last word in this book. So pay attention for the words I'm carefully choosing. They matter greatly, and they do. They still do. All right, recognize our advantages. Despite the lies that are all around you, your time on active duty is an advantage if you use it to conduct your mission planning, preparations, and workups concurrently with your weapons systems mission planning, preparations, and workups during the military unit readiness cycle. Your age today is an advantage once your mission begins and the ensuing transition battle starts, no matter when exactly transition itself will occur. Do not let a surprise ambush make your post-service liberty suck, preventing you from enjoying the true freedom you have defended for the free and the wealthy class. Your transition battle can hold your liberty hostage, and most certainly will if you do not intentionally and informatively plan, using the experiences of someone who has gone before you and who is proficient operating in the transition battlefield landscape. The information in this book is an advantage too, as is whatever you have been feeling that drew you to it. You have picked this book up or opened it on your browser because you are either scared and already in what Herb Thompson calls the transition mission, or you are battling toward your liberty event with the separation or retirement date bearing down on your military family. That fear probably doesn't feel like an advantage right now, but it is. I mean, that you recognize that the status quo path you probably see unfolding before your eyes is not inevitable. Or better yet, more favorably, you are a born and bred planner who is already intentionally seeking a guide throughout military service and preparing for a life of autonomy far beyond. You know that with freedom comes the ability to have greater control throughout life. You know that feeling deepens your relationships and makes them more fulfilling, which results in increased happiness and satisfaction across all areas of your life. No matter what exactly it is you want, this is certain: you will transition out of uniform. Either you will die a hero or you will leave the military on your terms or the government's. The latter is much more likely. Your decision to act today, including the choice to read this book, is motivated by a desire to increase your situation in preparation for that moment and to learn how to do so quickly and efficiently. That fire within you will remain for life. Many service members and veterans incorrectly believe that once they earn a rank or qualification or buy a house or reach retirement, that they will be happy. But the day they reach their short-term goal, a desire for increase will begin manifesting itself again. This is because it's not achievement and accumulation that drives them. It's the thrill of the pursuit, the lure of the challenge ahead, the desire to push for more. It's in winners like us. You feel it. I know it because I feel it too. You see, true joy comes from setting new goals after carrying out old ones. There's nothing bad about this. This is the American spirit. It's what you swore your oath to defend for all American citizens. That desire for abundance sparks ingenuity. It propels our world forward. When we demand more from ourselves, we invite it into our lives, risk-seeking challenges that test our capability, our mettle. The exact degree of motivation within each of us varies, but it is always there in winners. You damn well better believe that. The problem with today's transition process and the entrenched lies that prop it up is that it neither acknowledges nor encourages this desire. In fact, it does just the opposite. And as I said at the opening of the preface, the results have been devastating. If you continue to lack a full understanding of the systems we are working and living in, if you do not understand their true aims, if you do not understand the power of the words being used, if you accept and take on their words instead of choosing and using your own, and then decide to ask no questions, it will lead to a lot of unhappiness, distress, and regret over lost opportunities. We must question the words we see and read because those words, they really do matter. I know because I'm unhappy with what I did not know about. I'm unhappy about what I never knew to ask. I'm unhappy with what was not offered to me by my leaders. But I ask questions now, conduct research, and educate myself. I'm finding that most of these leaders did not know themselves. Many still do not know that the status quo decisions we're led to make while in service are doing most of us a disservice. Consumed with close-in missions and their own individual family affairs in life, they think no more about having been ill-informed than you do when you take their advice. You do not have to choose the well-worn path. Neither must you hack your own path through the razor wire barricades in place over the muddy transition dirt roads. Answer me this. What military mission are you going to tackle alone? Okay, if you're shot down behind enemy lines or you're hit and your team is wiped out, then maybe you will be solo, but it was not planned that way, and a rescue party will be hunting for you. You must not treat your individual mission toward transition any differently than you do the missions of the commands you're assigned to while in service. Just know that asking for advice about transition in the military is going to get you the status quo and government-funded or nonprofit-free solutions, and the statistics are telling us how that is going for the veteran community. Those opportunities and resources aren't free. They cost time in more ways than one. And as a side note, caveat, free I found is some of the most expensive services you can accept. They really are. And I'll touch on that more in our economics discussions and probably the wealth chapter too. All right, last section. And at 36 minutes in, we'll probably just have to end it there, and I can get to lot number 1 next week. Change begins while still in active duty and young. Service members are broken when leaving active duty. That was Jason Stapleton's comment to me in August of 2020 and was the nexus for this book. He, like many future service members as kids, dreamed of being war heroes, highly decorated from exploits in faraway lands. Some imagined death with honor and glory in Valhalla like in the Hollywood movies. But that is a dream for most of us. Only a tiny fraction will ever experience an event that provides a chance of such an outcome in this 21st century. It is past time we begin to start planning for the outcome of having no story to tell. Life does not just stop either after you leave service. It is far more likely your dash will not be backstopped by a 4-digit year for 3, 4, 5, even 6 decades or more. Some of us, though, may only have days remaining, but shouldn't we all be prepared for our family's security? John McCaskill's LinkedIn post drew attention to the matter too. His post concerning a colleague of his in 2020 summed it up by saying, in effect, "This just got real," and went on to explain a SEAL he knew had committed suicide, and the community was devastated. If you're waiting for someone to prompt you to take care of yourself, you're going to regret not starting sooner. It may not be tomorrow or next week, next year, or a decade from now, though I guarantee you will regret not taking the opportunity being offered today. You'll be scrambling, scared, and not knowing who to turn to. Transitioning military branch officer will be in your LinkedIn profile heading 6 months out from your separation date, and that word separation will anchor you down. It will restrain the greatness within. Recall, the words that we use, they matter. In service, we focus on the mission and taking care of our people. These tend to get more focus as we achieve higher ranks. The bigger your head gets, the more you really believe you have gotten it all figured out. You start believing you really deserve all the success. You confuse your experience and ability in your functional work as applicable to most every area in life. You begin to believe you are better at getting whatever it is you want because you are simply that good. You have taken such great care of your people too, getting them great evaluations and fitness reports on the job as well as more rank. It isn't until military service ends that we likely realize we have forgotten to take care of ourselves. I think of self-care from 3 different points of view: health, status of self, and wealth. And these 3 pillars are built on stabilized by a foundation of relationships. In this book, I will be asking you to both think about your own life from each of these perspectives and recognize how they all come together to create a stable structure. The liberty and freedom you'll get by viewing the world through this model will be unlike anything you've ever known. It provides the structure we're accustomed to in the institution while equipping us with the framework to become fully ready to embrace liberty upon release from active duty. In service, much emphasis is put on our physiological health, but true health has physical, mental, emotional, and yes, moral or spiritual, whatever that is for you, components. The status of self pillar is not how people perceive you, for example, your rank or fame or anything like that, but who we are as an individual in our own life, in our family, in our community, at work and leisure. This self-realization then manifests itself in the status through which others see us. Wealth is not about savings and investments. Assets are only a tool. The wealth I'm referring to is time. For when we take more control of our time, we are truly wealthy and free to pursue the liberty our Constitution gives us a chance to experience. Wealth is also the products and services we deliver to this world, not what we desire to take from it. I know from my own military experience that very few of us are paying attention to these things. Even worse, to the extent that we are paying attention to them, we're only really paying attention to the lies our culture has built up around them. Even worse still, many of us also fail to nurture and maintain the professional and personal relationships that are the foundation upon which all three of these pillars rest. We will discuss it all in the chapters ahead. If you feel your pillars are unstable or lacking in any way, what I laid out ahead will assist in understanding why that may be and highlight the steps to take to get them back upright and supporting your life again. On the other hand, if you know for certain that your structure is solid and needs no review, then read this for your people. I doubt you have given them the guidance you've used to have your life together already. So share your knowledge with them and have a full understanding and context of your people's exposed flanks. And share with them what's positioned you to win liberty during your upcoming military transition. And one last thing, for those hard-charging junior officers out there who know they'll always be selected for promotion, maybe so, but what you may not be prepared for is an unexpected forced drawdown when Uncle Sam decides he's done with you and Liberty turns her back. It could happen soon. There are no certainties, only probabilities. Will you be ready for the unexpected? Transition isn't for later. Transition readiness is an extension of deployment readiness. If truly ready to return in a coffin, then you've transition ready too. Do not fail yourself or your mission team. This country is counting on us once we get our liberty back. If you are motivated, use that motivation smartly. If lacking motivation, find more. Now, winners, let us plan to get an edge by leaning I'll start that last paragraph over. Now, winners, let us plan to get an edge by learning about the 10 common lies embraced by uniformed, uninformed service members and their family throughout the next 10 chapters. All right, and the chapter is closed by a quote from Thomas Sowell. Emotions neither prove nor disprove facts. There was a time when any rational adult understood this, but years of dumbed-down education and emphasis on how people feel have left too many people unable to see through this media gimmick. And then before the next chapter, we open with Carl Jung. The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you. All right, folks. So yeah, all that still resonates and applies with me. And the only change I would say, and the book hit on it, that last part of that chapter hit on it about time, right? Because those so-called 3 pillars in that foundation of relationships, wealth, status, and health. Well, now I have it as time, health, purpose, relationships, and stored time. It's kind of the model that I adopted maybe a year or so ago. So time, health, purpose, relationships, and stored time. Stored time being the wealth idea. So tell me in the comments how y'all like this format. Am I reading too fast? That's the beauty of YouTube. You can slow it down, right? Listen to me slower. If I'm going too slow, you can speed it up. I'm not going to try to get it perfect. I'm going to make some mistakes. I'm going to pause in the middle of the paragraphs and share some thoughts. But I really want to get to the chapters. So the chapters are pretty short, right? Like chapter 1 is only 24 to 27. It's only 4 pages long. So I'll probably read chapter 1 and 2 and maybe 3 next week in our next session. And we may not go through the whole summer with this. You know, we may get done by July 4th. I don't know. Then maybe I could read it again and do better. But anyhow, yeah, I look forward to hearing y'all's thoughts on it, on the book. Of course, it's on Amazon. If you want it, you can go get it for, I think, $14 or something. Price will never change. Yeah, I think it's 14. What did I do? That was read to some irrational number is how I priced the book. I think the electronic copy of the book is like $3.14 for Pi. And I think maybe E 1.41 or whatever was for $14 and something cents on Amazon. The thing is though, you can give a person a book, they'll never read it because they've got no skin in the game. Somebody buys a book though, they're much more likely to crack it open and look through it and read it. And that's my hope, that it can help one person out there somehow, some way, even just listening to me read it here by the campfire. I got a lot of memories coming back from that time period as I read through this book. There's a lot of emotions down in there that are bubbling up. All right, please like the video, share it if you think you can impact somebody else's life. I hope you will join me again. Comment if you would. Let's get some traction. The followership for the channel has grown by more than double in 4 weeks, and there's about one new subscriber per day right now, which is fantastic. I think it has a lot more to do with Silver than it does me, but we're going to be starting something called JHS Quick Minutes, and yeah, you could perceive that as my full name initials, or you can perceive it as the acronym Just Hold Silver, JHS, and I kind of like that one myself. So just hold the dog or just hold the metal, but just JHS Quick Minutes. So we'll be talking about silver shenanigans and a little bit on the silver market economics with the JHS Quick Minutes. Not investment advice, just one perspective for consideration. All right, Outcasts, let's stay weird together. To your liberty, the Outcast Commander is out.